Entrepreneurs have the biggest opportunity to build the most amount of wealth versus anybody else. And yet you are holding yourself prisoner to an identity that isn't even real. Hello, business owners. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited for today's topic because I don't think I've ever really spoken about this topic in this way. It's a little out of left field, so I want you to stick with me because there's a lot that's happening in my life right now in real time that I really wanted to share with you guys in a long form format to really get into the nooks and crannies of it all. And it is so applicable to you, your life, and your wealth journey. So the punchline at the top is that at the beginning of this year, I chose invited to be my word of the year. I want to be invited. And the reason I did that is because of one simple thing. My goal this year is to get invited to a Schiaparelli fashion show. Now, you may not know what the hell that is. You may be like, Gina, what? What does that have to do with money or wealth or debt or anything that you normally talk about? It doesn't. That's the kind of fascinating thing. This is a personal goal of mine. Schiaparelli is a fashion house in Paris. They're a couture fashion house that I have been collecting for the last 2 years. And I really want to get invited to a show. So in my mind, I was like, okay, great. I'm going to pick that as my impossible goal for the year because I had no idea how I was going to get invited. Still haven't been, but TBD, there's going to be an update soon. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to do my normal thing. My normal thing with goals is a strategy, a plan, KPIs, metrics, like things that I'm going to do, actions that I'm going to take, problems that I'm going to solve, right? And instead, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing in this realm. I'm not part of the fashion world. I didn't grow up with parents who cared about fashion. I've never been to a fashion show. Like, for all intents and purposes, the fashion world feels as foreign to me as money and wealth may feel to you. And so I was like, well, instead of doing a whole strategy that I don't understand, I'm just going to pick the word of the year. And my word is invited. I'm going to open myself to invitations of all kinds. And that was my whole strategy. And the most insane things have been happening. So I want in this episode to talk about the power of identity when trying to hit a goal that you have never tried to hit before, that no one in your life has ever done, that you have no roadmap for, no mentors for, a goal that feels impossible. Okay. So let's talk about how this identity has started to form and what's been starting to happen. Before I go into all of that, I have to give you guys a little backstory, and this is a little bit vulnerable. This is a little bit dicey for me to talk about with you guys, but I always felt like the floater friend. Do you know this term, floater friend? It's the friend who doesn't have a friend group, but kind of floats between different friend groups. And I think a big part of this was that I never stayed in one school system. I think I went to 11 schools by the time I graduated college. I switched schools a lot, and we didn't even move. I wasn't a military brat. It's just that some circumstances happened that I ended up switching a ton of schools. And by the time I got to high school, I did go to one high school, but all the kids I went to high school with had been going to school together since kindergarten or since elementary school. So all of their friendships and bonds had already solidified so much. And I was coming in as a total newcomer. And I don't know what it was, but I just kind of floated around. And I just always had this identity of I'm the floater friend. I'm the friend that gets invited last or maybe doesn't even get thought of. And it really hurt me as a child. I really remember seeing on social media a party that my friends were at that I wasn't invited to, or a trip that they were going to take to the river and they didn't think to ask. And this kind of followed me into my adulthood. And it's something that I've just kind of had and I've just kind of dealt with. And it may be similar to how you feel about money from the perspective of well, this is just my identity. It's just who I am. It's just what happens. Maybe I'm just the kind of person to be in debt. Maybe I'm just the kind of person to, never have enough. Whatever that is, I want you to recognize that it's an identity. It's not a reality, right? So for me, this identity of like floater friend was something that I just held and I just had. And eventually, especially in my 30s, I feel like I healed so much of that identity through just learning to be happy with myself. I actually think too, the pandemic kind of maybe helped in that way. Like we were all locked down. We were all inside. We were all not doing anything. And by the time we came out of the pandemic, I had a child, I had a husband, I had really good friends all around the world. I had so many experiences in my early 20s before the pandemic. And I just felt like, I don't know, I was talking to a friend in Miami and I was like, I just feel like my life is so full now that I don't have time to worry about being the floater friend anymore. And I felt like I had healed it. Okay. So that's the context. And you may be like, that makes no sense, Gina. Follow me. That is the context. Now, coming into 2026, I decide I would love to go to a Schiaparelli show. And that feels so wildly impossible and so wildly far away. And the only way I know people get invited to fashion shows is they spend a lot of money with the house being the fashion house, right? They spend a lot of money and that's how they get invited. And my thought process was a little bit like, okay, well, I shop at Bergdorf Goodman in New York City for Schiaparelli because Schiaparelli only has like 6 boutiques across the world. They're a very, very small, very exclusive house. So I shop through Bergdorf Goodman. Shout out to Abby, my sales associate at Bergdorf Goodman. Love her. And my thought process is like, okay, I'm never going to be their top spender. Like, you have to know that there's people who spend multiple 6 figures a year plus on fashion. And I'm kind of like in the 5-figure range. So I'm like, I'm never going to be their top spender. So I have to have another way to get invited. And I have no idea how to do that. So I pick my word of the year, invited. And all I did was like meditate on that and emotionally open myself up for invitations. And when I did that, I also started telling people I wanted to be invited. I started saying, this is my goal. I want to get invited to a Schiaparelli show and I want to be invited to things. I started telling my friends I wanted to be invited to more things. I started being available in my calendar. I started accepting invitations, like all types of invitations I would just accept. And for a while, it was a little bit quiet. Like it was kind of just like a pipe dream. But then in March, Abby, my sales associate, said, hey, I know you're going to be in town because I was in town. I was in New York and Bergdorf Goodman, the department store, is hosting a dinner with Loewe, a different brand, because the creative directors of Loewe are Jack McCullough and Lázaro Hernandez, and they are a duo. They met at Parsons School of Design in New York, and then they started a company called Proenza Schooler in 2002 when they graduated. It was kind of a big hubbub because their graduation like show for Parsons, the whole collection was bought by Barney's at the time and then sold. So it was like this big deal. And they grew Proenza Schooler from a small business to a really large business. And I love Proenza Schooler as well. It's one of my favorite brands. They recently went to Loewe and moved to Paris and started becoming the creative directors of Loewe. So sidebars, there's going to be a lot of fashion sidebars in this episode, but sidebar. So Bergdorf Goodman is hosting a dinner with them, and it's a little bit of a homecoming because Jack and Lázaro moved to Paris, and this is their first time back in New York since moving to Paris, and I get invited. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I will absolutely attend. I ended up buying a Loewe bag for the dinner to kind of like commemorate the spring collection. And I met the most incredible people at that dinner. Lázaro Hernandez complimented my outfit. If I do say so myself, I died. And it was so fun. And it just felt like, okay, this is not a Schiaparelli show, but I'm not rejecting the progress. Do you know what I mean? A lot of times, especially with money, my clients reject the progress as not good enough. They're like, oh, I made an extra $1,000, but I need 7. The 1,000 isn't good enough. Or I paid off a ton of debt, but then I had to go into a little bit more debt. And now that's not good enough. It's erasing all my progress, even though it's really, really not. Or I want to invest $1,000 a month, but I'm only able to invest $100 this month. Not good enough. You're rejecting the progress. And I think that's insane. Like, if you think about if money were a person, if we personify money for a second, you're constantly rejecting money. Why would money want to hang out with you if you're constantly rejecting it, right? Okay, so that's me. This is me. I'm not rejecting it. I'm not saying, oh, not good enough. I want to get invited to the Schiaparelli show. I don't want to go to some Loewe dinner. I just go, yes, I would love to go. And you know me, I hope at this point, I love chit-chatting. Oh my God, throw me in a room. I'll be in a room of strangers. I did not know a single person at this dinner. And this dinner it was star-studded. There were celebrities there. There were industry people there. I just chatted up a storm with everybody. I met influencers who I've been following on TikTok for years. Like, I just love a little chit-chat, a little gab. The dinner was incredible. It was amazing. No one had their phones out. Like, everyone was just like talking about fashion and their desires and their everyone was talking about the new Matthew Blasey collection and like all this stuff. It was just so fun. So then I'm journaling where is it? I'm going to pull it up. I have this little journal. If you're on YouTube or Spotify, you can see I have this little journal and I carry it with me everywhere in my purse. And inside of this journal, there's like a ton of different books. One of the little notebooks is called Evidence and Identity. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's very tiny. Evidence and Identity. And in here, I journal about the identities I want to build. And specifically this one, the identity of being a fashion girly, of being invited, of all of this. And I remember writing about it. Let me see if I can find. Oh my gosh, this is so cute. Like, reading this back, I'm going to read this to you guys. This is evidence before the dinner. Loewe and Bergdorf dinner invite. Abby invited me to this dinner at the Odeon to celebrate the Spring/Summer 2026 collection by Jack McCullough and Lázaro Hernández, their second since moving to Loewe and leaving their company Proenza Schooler. I'm attending alone. Abby's going to pull some Loewe Spring/Summer 2026 for me to wear. Questions for Jack and Lázaro. 1. How did they muster the courage to take the leap and leave the company that they started? 2, what is it like leaving your company in someone else's hands? 3, are they just not control freaks like me? And like, I prepared some questions in case I got to speak to them. And so I'm really like taking this seriously and I'm fully enjoying it. And I had the most fun. And then I journaled about how I felt afterwards. And then it was a little bit of crickets, but then Abby invited me to a cocktail hour at Bergdorf Goodman with the CEO of Schiaparelli. Unfortunately, I was in the middle of my move, so I couldn't attend, but I was like, I wrote it down in my journal, again, in my evidence journal. And I even I don't think you guys can see that. I printed a little picture of the invitation and I wrote, you can barely read it, but I got invited to a cocktail hour with the CEO of Schiaparelli, Delphine Bellini, in New York City. I couldn't go because we were moving, but I got invited. I'm definitely getting invited to a show. I can feel it. And the invites kept kind of just pouring in. I then started talking about this on TikTok. I started making more TikToks about fashion. And then I get a random invite to a Schiaparelli luncheon in San Francisco at the Neiman Marcus. I met the business development manager for Schiaparelli for all of Neiman Marcus North America. He was so lovely. I met the most incredible people. They did a little mini fashion show. They had a lunch, a 3-course meal. Then Abby invites me to the brand new Schiaparelli boutique opening in Bergdorf. So Bergdorf Goodman is a department store. They had a boutique already. It was kind of like a starter boutique, if you will, when the brand was smaller. And they closed it and they gave them a much bigger space. And I'm invited to this boutique opening. I go, there's still guys working on the ceiling and finishing it up. I am one of the first people in the world to ever get to see it. And then we go out to dinner. I met the communications manager of all of Schiaparelli from Paris. I met one of the family members of the owners of Schiaparelli, because Schiaparelli is a family-owned business, and we chatted it up. We spoke in Italian all night. It was such an incredible, incredible dinner and an incredible moment. And the boutique is stunning. You can read about it. There's literally articles about this new boutique. And I was one of the first people to see it ever. Why am I telling you all of this? First of all, because I'm really, really excited. And it's so fun because it feels like the momentum is building and building, but more because When you lead with focusing on the identity, not the outcome, you will be happier. You will be so much happier when you work on the identity and not the outcome. Why? Because this whole time, still haven't gotten the outcome I've wanted, right? The outcome is I want to get invited to a Schiaparelli show. I still don't have that, but I am happier than ever in my journey. Why? Because I'm focusing on the identity of somebody who is invited, the identity of someone who is in these rooms, who is wanted in these rooms. Now let's go back to what I told you earlier about that little like inner child wound, the floater friend. I made a TikTok video about this after the Schiaparelli dinner. And I said, I think this is accidentally healing that floater friend identity. That's not what I sought out to do, but I think this is actually healing my floater friend identity. And the biggest thing here is that being a floater friend was actually just something that I was imposing on myself. It wasn't something that, was real. It was, I imposed this identity on myself. And because of that, I acted in a certain way. Maybe I acted weird towards friends. Maybe I didn't follow up. Maybe I didn't say I wanted to be invited, right? And now I'm literally asking people to invite me to things. I'm reaching out to my friends more. I'm accepting invitations there. I'm inviting people myself to my house and to do things with me. I have been inviting more people on my podcast outside of my clients. I'm so excited. There's a podcast episode I'm going to be doing, and you guys, I'm so excited for it. It's with an industry giant. Like I feel like this has completely revolutionized my life. And it started with a simple word of the year, invited. So let's bring this back to money really quickly now. Let's talk about money, because wealth, especially as entrepreneurs, building wealth is so much more about the identity that you have, not the strategy. The strategy is relatively simple, right? We save money, spend less than we earn, pay off our debt, invest in the stock market, fund our retirements. It's not a mystery. Building wealth is not a mystery. It might be a mystery to you. It's definitely not a mystery to me. And once you learn it, it's so dead simple. I say this all the time to my clients. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I have clients on my 7-figure wealth coaching calls that, when they joined the program, they're like, I feel so dumb. I don't even know what you're talking about. And then 6 months later, they're like, okay, Gina, so here's my plan. I sold my house. I getting this much money. We're going to do this, and this. I'm going to max out this Roth IRA. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. Do you think it's a good plan? And I'm like, look at you go. 6 months ago, you didn't even know what a Roth IRA was. And now we're talking about fully complex financial plans with big windfalls. When I say it's not complicated, I really mean anybody can learn this stuff. But if your identity is, I'm not good with money, I will always be in debt, I'll be in debt until I die, millennials will never own homes, entrepreneurship is inherently risky, or entrepreneurship is unstable, or, no, people like me don't build wealth. That's a big one. Oh my gosh. A lot of my children of immigrants have that one. People like me don't build wealth. People in my community don't do this. I'm too old to build wealth. All of these thoughts, all of these identities, I'm behind. Oh my God, that's a big one. I'm behind. All of these are just identities. And the thing is, it's you have evidence for this, right? I had evidence for the floater friend identity. My evidence was that I didn't feel like I was part of a friend group. I wasn't in the group chats. I wasn't invited to XYZ party, right? That was my concrete evidence. No, I am the floater friend. But the reality is it's still a made up concept. And when you remove the identity and explore something new, you behave differently and you create new evidence for yourself. And I want you to do this with your money, especially your wealth building, because the reality is that as an entrepreneur, you have some of the largest wealth building capacity of anybody. Entrepreneurs have the biggest opportunity to build the most amount of wealth versus anybody else. And yet you are holding yourself prisoner to an identity that isn't even real. So I want to invite you to shed that and open up the door of possibility that it could be different. Like I opened up the door of possibility by saying, my word of the year is just invited. My word of the year is just invited, and we'll see where it takes me. And by golly, it has taken me so far, and I'm having the most fun journey of my life. Now, if you're still like, okay, this all sounds exciting and good, and I want to do a new identity, but I still don't know what the hell I'm talking about, and I still don't know how money works, I am hosting a free masterclass called From Debt to Millionaire, where I'm going to be teaching a simple 3-step process for paying off debt and building an income generating portfolio outside of your business so that you can be work optional. Essentially, all of those words just mean be wealthy, right? I am going to be teaching you how to be wealthy, even if you're in debt and as an entrepreneur. And I would love for you to come. It's going to be free. It's going to be live. I'm going to be answering all of your questions. Bring all your questions. Just like how I wrote down questions in case I got to chat with Jack and Lazaro, I want you to write down your questions. I want you to come and ask at the end of the lesson. I have a ton of Q&A time. That is a perfect time to come and bring your thoughtful questions about your situation, about your curiosities, about your identities and your money. I would love to sit and answer those for you. It's on Monday, July 13th, which is about a week from now. If you're listening to this on the drop day, please register and come. Even if you can't attend live, the replay will be sent out only to those who register, because otherwise I don't know who the hell to send it to. So come, please come. And the link will be at www.ginaknox.co/masterclass. Again, the link will also be in the show notes and all of the things. But yeah. If any of this resonated with you, the idea that you might be the one holding yourself back with your own thoughts about yourself, please come. Let's crack your brain open a little bit, because, and similarly, like I'm sure there's somebody out there who's like, Gina, it's not that complicated to get invited to a Schiaparelli show. Here's how you do it. 1, 2, 3. God, I wish I could jump on a call with someone who would just tell me 1, 2, 3, and then you'll get invited. So for now, I'm just still navigating this thing alone, but you do not have to navigate wealth alone, especially as an entrepreneur. It is not as complicated as you think, but it has to start with you accepting that it might be possible for you. And I know it is, but you have to believe just a little bit that it might be possible for you too. All right. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take it easy.